Hello, and welcome to the journey of grief, becoming us without them. And today we have the great privilege of being with a therapist who specialized in pet therapy and worked for a big vet clinic for years and has lots and lots to teach us. So, Florence, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your work?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to do this because I don't know how many other therapists really do this work. And I know that there's such a need. So, anyway, my name is Florence. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist in private practice now. But yes, I used to work at a hospital at the #1 vet school in the nation where I provided support for animal owners and pet parents. And I use those terms because some people do not consider themselves pet parents. They'll refer to themselves as owners. Um, but same group of people in the vet med world, we call them clients, just like you and I do in our industry. But what's interesting is that even before I started working there, I worked there from 2018 until 2024. So just last year I left. The interesting thing is that I've been in private practice since 2005, and I've been doing pet loss counseling probably since 2008 when I added it to my private practice. And then I also fell in love with the work of veterinary mental health as well. Um, any veterinary professional, no matter their role in vet med, the the stats of stress and burnout, compassion fatigue, moral distress, pretty high. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about not only pet loss, but I'd also love to talk about the what I should say is not only pet loss around death, but also loss around chronic illness that a pet may have, including mental health of the pet.
That
So,
would be great.
yeah.
We would love to hear all of that.
Is there anywhere you'd like me to start? I usually start with just giving people a history of my lens that I look through.
That would
Um,
be great.
okay, which is basically the human animal bond, which is no different for me. Being a marriage family therapist, we have training in family systems and relationships. We're, you know, touted as the relationship experts. And I look at the theory of attachment when I'm talking about the human animal bond with somebody and when that bond is broken. And what I find very interesting is that, John Bowlby's work, who is one of the fathers of attachment theory, his work is actually based on Dr. Conrad Lorenz's work, the imprinting that he had with the Goslings. And
Oh,
so John Bowlby saw that and was interested as far as like, do babies attach in the same way that animals attach and imprint? And so, of course, we found out that yes, it's the same. So I find it interesting, these overlaps between the history of attachment and human animal bond. Same with the SPCA. I'm sure you may know this. Some people do, some people don't. That our Child Protective Services was born out of the SPCA because they found that when pets were being abused, there was often a link with abuse in the home in general. So
oh,
we've always, I mean, it goes back even farther back than that. I mean, there's Egyptians with the hieroglyphics and animals, the Aztecs, and the dog that actually is still around. And I can't pronounce it, starts with an X, is all I remember. But there is this very long history of the human animal bond. And so I really approach it through the lens of attachment. When I was at the hospital, I used to research, it's the American Pet Products website. And they always have interesting, every year they send out a report about pet parents and what they're purchasing. It's really used for marketing purposes for pet companies and like dog food and toys and that kind of thing. But I found some interesting data just around like 95% of dog owners hug their dogs daily. And about, I think it's 29% of cat owners will throw a birthday party for their cat. So we're very bonded, right? The human animal bond. I also learned that we will attach and bond with just about any animal. When I was at the hospital, we had, large animals, of course, horses, but also like sheep, goats, um, cows, um, potbelly pigs, um, farm pigs even, and, of course, the dogs and the cats, birds, snakes. Like, I realized that humans will bond with any animal, but what I found most interesting is that they will also bond with us. And there is some research, at least on dogs, I don't know about other animals, um, that the same thing that happens with babies and caregivers when we look into each other's eyes, and the oxytocin is secreted in the brain, which is the bonding hormone. Dogs also have oxytocin that secretes in the brain. I wish I could remember the research and who did it, but I was quite interested in that because that tells me that yes, this bond is happening not just emotionally, but physically. There's a bond that's happening. Um, do you have specific questions about the human animal bond or?
Just so as people are grieving the loss
Mhm,
nowadays, when the human bonding and there's way more neuroscience about
mhm,
exactly what's going on when you're grieving, the parts of your brain that are affected. And it
right.
can be helpful for people to understand there's actually a whole body brain thing happening. It's not just the things we tell ourselves. You're weak, what's wrong with you, get over it.
Right.
You're literally, your body's got to relearn a world without that person in it. So talk about the ways that that process goes for animal parents.
Right. Yeah, it's the same sort of dynamic, same sort of process in that. So I come from, I don't know if folks are familiar with Dr. Robert Niemeyer's work on grief and loss, and Dr. Lorraine Hedke. It's all about meaning making. So how do we make sense of the loss, and how do we form new relationships after they're physically gone? And so when I'm working with clients, and um, I still provide counseling services for pet parents, animal owners, and veterinary professionals. So I'm still doing the work. So when I'm talking to pet parents, I'm asking them that, well, one, I start with just tell me whatever, wherever you want to start. Um, I was trained that we don't ask what happened around the death, that we start with wherever the client wants to start. If that is the death and they need to talk about how that happened or the loss. So I do want to make the distinction. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tangential, but I always circle back. Um, but it's not just death, right? It's also anticipatory grief. It's loss of, if your animal is diagnosed with a chronic illness, kidney disease, cancer, behavioral issues. I worked closely actually with the behavior service at the hospital and learned a lot about animal mental health and how that is experienced as a loss. because your hopes and dreams of having an animal where you can go places, you mourn that, or we mourn that, because that dog is under such stress, maybe out and about, and maybe they're fearful or they're aggressive. So when I'm talking about loss, I'm including anticipatory grief, or loss of hopes and dreams about what you could do with your pet or your animal. So going back to the question around, the process. So I just start by asking them, tell me a little bit about your relationship with your pet. And you can start anywhere you want. Some people do start with the details of the loss. Others will share memories with me. I love when people tell me all about their animals. I love hearing the stories. I love finding out about how intertwined the animal is in daily life. One of the things that I've discovered, and I think the research backs me up on this, is that the intensity of pet loss has been found to be greater than losing a parent or a partner.
Wow.
And some of that is because they're so intertwined into our lives, right? We have routine with them, feeding time, walking time, or playtime, whatever the times are, and they're witnesses to our lives, right? So I'm in that beginning phase. I'm really asking for them to tell me about their relationship with their pet. And in that, I've discovered that other losses called secondary losses start to emerge. Like, I don't walk my animal anymore. In fact, I don't know if you can see right over here. That's Lita's harness and leash and her collar. So I keep it up. I'm still connecting with her, but I don't have the routine of walking her anymore. So I often will have people ask me questions like, what do I do with even the kitty litter box? What do I do with the food dishes, the water bowl, the toys, the leftover food that I have? And I just tell people, when you're ready, and you will know when you're ready, when the intensity of grief isn't so strong, when you're clearing out their things, which is very similar to what people do when they lose a person, I encourage them to pay attention. Are the tears flowing, and are they, heavy with grief? Or are they maybe happier tears because they're memories? And so don't throw anything out until you're ready. We're in a culture of results, and we have to get to where we need to go, but grief doesn't work that way. I mean, grief is this process that unfolds the way it's going to unfold. And so I just tell people to pay attention to how they feel. Do they want to donate? Sometimes people will say, well, I would prefer to donate to maybe a domestic violence shelter, because we know that when somebody has to leave a violent situation, leave their home, they could be leaving their pet behind, or they can be taking it with them. And so there's different ways to kind of honor your pet. Um, so anyway, I also ask, first two questions I always ask after that, after tell me about your relationship, tell me about your sleeping habits and your eating habits, because those two things are often impacted greatly. And so sometimes people say, I can't eat anything. Like, my stomach is just in knots. It's heavy. Um, and so I just encourage them to eat whatever they can, to check with a nutritionist or their doctor to see if there are any concerns about for this temporary time. I encourage them to drink lots of water. We tend to get dehydrated when we're grieving. I'm not sure the exact connection. I've read that sometimes crying can make us dehydrated, and there's some connection in the brain, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So I usually encourage people to drink, if anything, just make sure you're drinking water. Some of the research shows that high carbohydrate diet is good while we grieve, but I usually just tell people whatever makes you feel better and it's not bad for you, that's fine. And if you're craving something, feel the craving, as long as it doesn't become a habit. Um, and then as far as sleeping, I will hear, well, I'm having either bad dreams, if the death was, people can carry, the thing that I noticed about pet loss, it comes with an incredible amount of guilt, because we can't ask our animals if we're making end of life decisions, or if we're making medical decisions on their behalf. All we have are those signs, either behaviorally, or if the veterinarian has the clinical signs and tests to kind of share with us. Sometimes it's not so clear cut, or maybe it's a behavioral euthanasia. There is such guilt. Did I do enough? Would it have mattered if I took my animal in sooner? Um, I always encourage people to go back and ask the veterinarian, and the veterinarian will usually say, yes, you did everything you could. Um, I have found that most of the people that I've worked with, if not all, are incredibly dedicated to their animals, to their pets. So sometimes that guilt shows up and it doesn't allow for sleep. They're ruminating or having intrusive thoughts. So they either have trouble falling asleep, or maybe their sleep is disrupted by dreams that, maybe their guilt is just overwhelming. Sometimes I've had people say, well, actually, I had a really happy dream and my pet came to visit me, but then it made me feel sad because I realized they're not here physically. So eating and sleeping are two things I'm always asking about. And then, if it's something that maybe isn't grief related, I'm referring back to a medical professional to deal with that. Um, so from there, I'm doing a lot of psychoeducation around the grief process as my work has informed me. I hear questions like, I really miss my pet, or I'm sleeping with my pet's toys or blanket. Um, I have their collar in my car on the windshield. Um, is that normal? That's a question I hear all the time. Is that normal? Yes, absolutely. And I encourage what we call touchstones. Whatever those things are that we can physically hold on to, then by all means, if that helps you feel connected, then yes, hold on to those things. Again, don't get rid of things until you're ready, and you'll know, because you'll be able to pay attention. Sometimes I will ask people where they feel the grief in their body. What do they say to themselves? Um, and that varies. Well, grief is a very like there's certain things that are very common, like being shocked and surprised, or just disoriented around it. um what I have found is that, while there are things that are inherent to grief, the grieving process is so individualized, not just like between you and me, because we're different people, but also depending upon our relationship. I've had pets in my life. I had a soulmate pet. In fact, one of your guests on the pet loss panel was talking about her soulmate dog. I think it was Nikki was a dog. I had a soulmate dog, and it's amazing. Like I would walk into the house and the silence was deafening. And that
Mm.
seems to be really common. But my loss with him was different than the loss of my other dog. I had two dogs at one time. She died first, and then he died a year after. And her death didn't have the same intensity. The grief didn't have the same intensity, but his certainly did because I was just more connected. So I certainly do a lot of psychoeducation around how loss, yes, there's some similarities in symptoms, and then it's also very individualized. And that's usually based on the relationship, um, the way that they're intertwined into our lives, may be different than another pet. Um, if the pet was shared, um, and maybe the other person in the household had a stronger bond. I think you talked about that also in the pet loss panel. So there are differences, the circumstances of the death, was it, or loss, again, I should say loss. There is a difference between like a behavioral euthanasia and, oh, my dog was 15 years old and was a husky and had cancer. That has a different sort of, can have a different sort of grief process than a 1-year-old who is having to be euthanized due to behavioral issues, which is is really sad. So I'm usually telling people what I learned from the veterinarians and to go back and talk to their veterinarian about maybe the cause of that behavioral stuff. Um, so from there, a lot of psychoeducation, telling them about, yes, these are the factors that can impact your grief process. And, tell me about these things that are happening for you. What was your relationship like, in the sense of what does the day-to-day look like? When we get to it, I will, when they're ready to talk about the circumstances of the death, then I also add a little psychoeducation about how, yes, when I first started at the hospital, my first client was a gentleman who had accidentally ran over his cat in the driveway. He didn't know that she was under there. And that's, again, going to have a different impact, and the guilt that comes with that. But that's an accident, right? That wasn't anything that we could really control, because when you don't know, you don't know. And there isn't any pet parent that I've worked with that doesn't want the best for their pet. Um, so, I'm doing a lot of psychoeducation too around the type of loss that it could be. Pet loss sometimes is under the category of disenfranchised loss, which basically means society doesn't see it as a valid loss, which is so invalidating because it's really saying your grief and loss doesn't matter. Your
Mhm.
relationship to that animal doesn't matter. So we hear things like, oh, well, you can always get another animal or a pet. Oh, it was just a dog. It was just a rabbit. Oh, well, guinea pig has a short lifespan. So we get these comments that are really invalidating and dismissive. And so I'm also helping folks get through the pain that causes.
Right. The
Like,
same way with human people
yeah,
say things that make it much worse. Like, I'm sorry, it's not okay that you're doing this.
right, right. So there tends to be judgment, right? With grieving, especially with disenfranchised losses. Um, so yeah, there are these questions. Oh, when are you going to get another pet? And well, we might be thinking that if we've gone through the loss. It could also be way too soon for somebody to ask that. And so again, it's a bit dismissive, like the pet is replaceable when they're not. And even
Right.
when we get a new pet, it's a different relationship, a different bond. It doesn't take away from the loss of what was experienced with the other pet. So I'm really validating the experience of how society sees pet loss, especially around behavioral euthanasia. And I know I keep going back to behavioral euthanasia, and that's mainly because my dog Lita, who passed away just this last February due to lymphoma, she
Mhm.
was a patient of the behavior service and was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and had to be on Prozac. And your life gets really small when you have a dog that has mental health issues. Um, but behavioral euthanasia comes with a lot of confusion from society. Like, why are you going to put that? It was just a training issue. No, it's a brain health issue. So that judgment can impact the grieving process, impacts the guilt. So I'm really unpacking those feelings, unpacking decisions. Did I make the right decision? Really exploring those feelings and really validating that impacts our grief process. I'm also validating those secondary losses that I talked about earlier, like any routine, having to get rid of toys or their collars. What do I do with this stuff? The hopes and dreams again, like, oh, I didn't realize my animal was going to need chemotherapy, and now I'm having to adjust my life at home. So that way they can get what they need and I can make those appointments. I think the other thing we don't consider too much is divorce. And I've worked with people who have had to figure out a visitation schedule, just like they would with children, and the loss when their pet isn't with them, but maybe with their ex. Um, so, yeah, there's all different ways that people experience the loss, like the circumstances of the loss, and then the circumstances of the grief. And so I want to normalize every step of the way because it's the human animal bond is amazing. And our animals bring such joy into our lives that when that bond is broken, it there is a heaviness, there is a longing. After Lita died, I still long for her. She was my heart dog. And it's much easier for me not to have the emotion with my soulmate dog because he died 10 years ago. So I find that for me, the time there is some truth that time heals all wounds, but grief is on a different timeline. It's not the same linear timeline. Time moves differently. It's a different concept of time for grief. So sometimes I do get emotional when I talk about Maslow, my soulmate dog. Um, but it's not as fresh. The pain isn't as fresh. Um, so once I'm doing this actually simultaneously when I'm working with a client, right? I'm kind of assessing or asking about the relationship while I'm assessing the grief and the symptoms that come with that. And I'm also encouraging self-care at the same time, checking in with them every time I meet with them. Like, were you able to eat something? How was your sleep? What was your, what feelings were you in this week? Because they can range, right? It could, you could be really angry one minute and then really sad or feeling guilty the next. You might even have a smile on your face and feel guilty because you are having fun. And I'm not supposed to have fun while I'm grieving. We can have moments of joy while we grieve. And I think our loved ones, whether they're animals or people, want that for us. I've also found that people have a hard time letting go of their grief, not because they might feel guilty because they're feeling happier or lighter, but also I've had people say it's a way I can stay connected. And I, I understand that, but I always ask, so maybe you've had this relationship for 10 years and your grief process is just in the last, depending on how long they've been grieving, couple months, couple years. What about all the life you lived with them prior? Are there ways you can hold on to them in new ways, in different ways that allow you to move forward with your life and joy while still honoring them? And so I'm asking them how they want to honor their pet. I've worked with people who have had celebrations of life, especially during COVID, because they could gather their friends over Zoom. We can still do that. I mean, we're meeting on Zoom. So they're having celebrations of life. I'm actually trying to, I may do this for friends and family. The national, what is it called? Oh, I'm going to forget the name. It's a national, it's not called Pet Loss Day. It's a national thing on the second Sunday of every September. It's really about celebrating. It's a nationwide thing to celebrate your pets. So this year I'm thinking about doing that to celebrate Lita, but also inviting friends and family to celebrate their loved ones who have passed that they would like to honor. I'm also, I don't know if I should say my ethnicity at this time of the world being the way it is, but I belong to a culture that celebrates Dia de los Muertos. And so that's also another celebration of life. I don't know if you can hear my new dog barking in the background. So, what can they do to stay connected in ways that celebrate their relationship? How do they want to stay connected? Not just maybe touchstones, but do they want to, hold that celebration of life? Do they want to get their pet cremated? Um, Sometimes before, if I'm supporting an end of life discussion, so veterinarians, all that's their scope of practice, right? To talk about end of life. But I used to come and follow that up with, how do you want to say goodbye? And then talk about cremation. Like, do you want a referral to a crematorium? How do do you want the euthanasia at home or in an office, the vet's office? Sometimes we don't have that choice, but do you want to talk to the veterinarian about whether or not your pet qualifies for palliative care at home and have them pass naturally? So I know I've kind of gotten off the topic of celebrating their lives,
No,
but
but that's great.
but I also think it's important to know how you want to say goodbye, because if you have some control, it helps maybe with the grief process. Um, but the reason why I bring that up during this discussion is because I've had many clients who have cremated their pets. Lita's cremated, and her ashes are in a nice little box engraved with her name and up on the mantle. That is my way, and certainly some people's way, of staying connected to them. And it's a physical representation because it is them. And I've had people talk. I talk to Lita. I tell her good morning or hello. So it's a new way of connecting, right? We have to find new ways to form that bond with them. Some people will do things like, I'm actually in the process of maybe getting together. I'm getting a website developed, and I want to do some pet loss resources and support groups. And I want to name the program Lita's Legacy. And
Oh,
I do want to work with owners who have dogs or cats who have their animals being seen by a behavior veterinarian. That is really special to me. So how do they want to continue that? Do they want to plant a tree? Do they want a photo, those digital photos that
right.
rotate through? Do they want to put something like that together? Um, do they want to frame a picture or have their pet portrait? People do paint pet portraits. You give them a picture. I have all three of my dogs up actually right next to me here in portrait form. And so, it's a way of carrying forward the relationship in a new way. And that connects back to what I started saying so long ago about meaning making. How do we make sense of the loss, and how do we form new relationships so they have more a different meaning or a similar meaning in our lives? And how do we take care of ourselves while we do that, right? Eating, sleeping, regulating that as much as possible, allowing the tears to come, because doing those more memorialized things can bring up sadness, again, anger. Like, honor the process. I often tell people grief is in the driver's seat and we're along for the ride. Partner with your grief to the best of your ability, because your grief is a natural healing process. Trust it. Sure, make sure you've got support. Having a support system is so important when we grieve, and having people who get it. So when you have a disenfranchised loss, I typically tell people, make sure those people get it, that they really understand the loss of the bond and what that really means at a deeper level. It's not just an animal, it's not just a pet. You want people who will validate your feelings and not judge you for the relationship that.
And I think that's one of the hardest parts in all of the grief panels.
Mhm,
Um, I hear people talking about trying to find support, good support, people that get it, people that don't push them aside or hurry it along. But
mhm.
boy, it sounds like it must be really hard to find that kind of support for pets, where there's a group of people that just want to be together to share their journey. And so normalizing the grief experience for pet parents that
Yeah,
this is grief. You're doing it. You're doing a perfectly lovely job of grief. And they're like,
right,
oh, should I be like this? Should I be like, yes, you should be all those things, all those,
right.
and just
Yeah,
making it okay that it can hurt as much, or if not more, with a pet than it did with a human. And
absolutely.
even that complication of when you have a pet who struggles with their life and the death represents relief from the struggle, but it also represents the end of the relationship, just like a human
Yeah.
does. It's a very complicated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the interesting thing also is I've heard from clients talking about relationship, not only do they miss the relationship with their pet, they miss their relationship with the veterinarian and the vet techs and all the staff that was involved in their pet's life. And that was kind of surprising to me when I first discovered this. But because I got to observe those relationships, I could see, especially with chronic illness and having to do treatments or whatever, and the stress that that can bring. It is the veterinarians and the vet techs and the client support or the client service reps who get to know the pet, they get to know the client, and we form bonds with them as well. So it does, it is, there are there are lots of secondary losses. And
uh,
I think, I think we could end probably on support. It's a good place to kind of end because it's all about maybe some resources and finding resources. There are pet loss support groups available, so people can attend either month. They're usually monthly. Some are free, some cost. There are online resources. So folks in the Sacramento region, I think the SPCA is still running their
mm,
monthly support group. UC Davis at the hospital, they are running a group as well on monthly, from what I understand. And there is the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement. If you go to aplb.org, they have, I think you can even do like chat if if that's more comfortable. I think they have a memorial page for people to post. It does, they have 3 levels of membership, I think. So um, people can decide how involved they want to get. There is Lap of Love. If you need to find like an at-home euthanasia vet or a hospice vet, they also run groups or support. There's a brand new website called lovebaxter.com. A lot of articles. There's a directory so you can find groups. They also, I think, offer online groups. Um, and I want to also mention this book, The Loss of a Pet. For me, this has been just the most descriptive, and it like does a really good job of kind of the general experience that I have noticed people go through. And I think the author is the same one that started the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement. Um, so yeah, having support is one way to take care of yourself. Of course, exercise is important. I think all of us that do grief work write a letter to your loved one or to the grief. So there's different ways that you can connect with others for support, but also connect with self for
that's
support.
great.
Yeah.
So I will make sure that I will have links to all the cool stuff that you've mentioned and a link to your book in the show notes. And so if you just could give us the 1 minute of wisdom, the one most important thing, if people forgot everything that happened before and carried this one thing out with them, what would you want that to be, the takeaway for people from your entire career?
Well, you're normal. Your grief is normal. It mattered. The relationship mattered. Your pet mattered. The bond is still strong, and it's all very normal to feel the loss of a pet in a very intense, sad way. And yes, the guilt is also part of the process, and that's normal. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay to feel like you're not normal, but you are. It's all normal.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for giving us this time to hear all of this awesome stuff, I don't know that people get a chance to have their pet grief normalized by a professional. And I really want to encourage people that there are people like Florence who have made a big commitment to supporting people in their relationships with their pet and even after the death of their pet. And so there is this kind of help for you with someone who really gets it and has spent a lot of time learning how to get it. And so I
Yeah.
encourage people, find a great therapist, find a support group. It makes it so much better. I know when my husband died, just hearing people say out loud, oh, okay, that's not weird. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not alone. To know that you're not alone is really important when we're grieving.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And it's been wonderful learning all of your
Oh,
cool
thank you.
stuff.
Thank
And
you.
I will talk to you again soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Okay.